This lesson has no math in it whatsoever. It's just more like a writing assignment. And you're going to have to memorize 4 rules in relation to this writing assignment. All right? So, a couple definitions you got to get down first. Inductive reasoning. Come on, man. Is reasoning that uses a number of specific examples to arrive at a conclusion. Inductive reasoning, that's the term. Inductive reasoning is reasoning that uses a number of specific examples to arrive at a conclusion. And then the term conjecture. Conjecture, that is a statement. A statement reached by using inductive reasoning. Conjecture, that's a statement. Now that can be verbal or written. Verbal or written. Now these are just fancy names for something that you do all the time that's very simple. Okay, if I give you the numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, blank, 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 and I ask you to use inductive reasoning to make a conjecture about the next 3 terms. Well, you're going to look at the first 4 terms and you're going to see a specific pattern, and your conjecture is the statement, verbal or written, that you reached by looking at those first 4 terms. So what would the next 3 terms be in this pattern? 10, 12, and 14. Okay? So if you're asked to make or to use inductive reasoning to make a conjecture about the numbers in a pattern, all you're doing is you're looking at the terms that are given, you're thinking about the pattern, and then you're making a statement as to what the next 3 terms will be. Everybody okay with that? Very good. A counterexample. A counterexample is a false example this could be written or verbal related to a conjecture. Here's an example. I'm going to pretend to be a weatherman. And I'm going to say that based on the rain patterns, that it's going to rain today between 8:50 and 8:55. And it's going to rain the entire time here at O'Galley High School. That's my conjecture. What would the counterexample be? The counterexample would be a false example related to a conjecture. Meaning, I'm looking outside right now and it's not raining. Okay? Or I'm outside right now at O'Galley and it's not raining. So a counterexample is a false example related to a conjecture. It's when you make a statement related to a conjecture that shows that it is incorrect or that shows that it is false. Pretty exciting, huh? Good. Look at page 107. Conditional statement. Is a statement that can be written in if-then form. Hypothesis. That's the phrase immediately following the if. We're going to say the word if. The symbol for the hypothesis is a lowercase p script. All right, a conditional statement is in if-then form. A conditional statement has a hypothesis and a conclusion. The conclusion that's the phrase. Following the word then. right, its symbol is a lowercase script q. An if-then statement come on, man. Has a symbol that looks like this. This is red. Okay? This reads, if P, which is the hypothesis, then Q, which is the conclusion. Here's your symbol for the if-then statement. This reads, if P, then Q. If the hypothesis, then the conclusion. All right, so I'm on the bottom of page 107 now. And let's get one more look here in your notes before we move on. Let's get a Venn diagram of a conditional statement. Here's your hypothesis in the small circle. The conclusion is the large circle, meaning if P, then Q. Okay, so right now we're going to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion of a statement. And I'm going to use the letter P for hypothesis, identify the hypothesis and conclusion of the statement. If the forecast is rain. Then I will take an umbrella. In this case, identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. The hypothesis is right here. It immediately follows the if. The hypothesis is the forecast is rain. If you got a highlighter, highlight it one color. If you got two highlighters, that'd be great. If you got colored pencils, underline the hypothesis in one color. We'll call it red in this case. All right? Call the conclusion Q. Call it another color if you got two colors. In this case, the hypothesis is the forecast is rain. The conclusion of this statement, that's the word, that's the part that follows the then. I will take an umbrella. Hypothesis, conclusion. The next statement there on that page, bottom of 107. A number is divisible by 10. if its last digit is a 0. Thank
Federal
you.
impact forms for fourth period.
Okay.
Thank you.
A number is divisible by 10 if its last digit is a 0. Okay, the problem with this statement is there's only a word if in it. They're implying the word then. So in this case, the hypothesis is still what follows the if. So in this case, the hypothesis would be a number's last digit is 0. The conclusion would be that it is divisible by 10. In some cases, you'll get a statement where they don't have the if and the then. Now, the statement could be written in if-then form, but in this case, it's just not. So if you're only given one of the words, the rule still applies. In this case, what follows the if is the hypothesis. The rest of the statement becomes the conclusion. If a polygon has 6 sides, then it is a hexagon. Can anybody tell me the hypothesis of this statement? Very good. A polygon has 6 sides. What is the conclusion of this statement? Very good. It is a hexagon. All right, the red is your P. The blue is your Q. Hypothesis, conclusion. Let's do another one now where it's a little bit tougher to identify. Let's say another performance will be scheduled. If the first one is sold out. Any volunteers for the hypothesis? Mr. Connor.
Would not my hypothesis be the first one is sold out?
It would, but in that case, can we say, we're going to underline this as the first one is sold out, and we're going to call that the hypothesis. But if you had to write the hypothesis, okay, just add the word performance to your hypothesis, all right? Because that's what you're talking about in this case, right? You're talking about a performance. So if you're asked to write the hypothesis, it would be the first performance is sold out. What's the conclusion of that statement? Right. Another performance will be scheduled. Okay? So another performance will be scheduled. That is your conclusion. All right, so one example is just a straightforward, it's got the word if in it, it's got the word then in it. What follows the if is the hypothesis. What follows the then is the conclusion. All right, and then a couple other examples of when one of the words is missing. And in this case, both of them was the word then. So what followed the if was the hypothesis. And if you have to write the hypothesis, you may have to, use the word performance in it because that's what they're talking about in this case. In the other case, they were talking about, I don't remember what they were talking about, a number being divisible by another number. Okay? So, in the book, flip over to page 111. And all you're going to do today is problems 1 through 4. So we're on page 111. Where it says identify the hypothesis and conclusion of each conditional statement, I just want you to write the hypothesis and the conclusion. Okay? You don't have to copy the conditional. But you do have to write out the hypothesis and then write out the conclusion. So you're going to do problems 1 through 4. And then 18 through 21. All right? And check the odd numbered problems in the back of the book. And headline for homework. Check the odds and headline for homework, please.